these guys?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
There's just one more house, so there are two houses.
The public hearing in Bucyrus City Hall for December the 16th, 2019 at 6 p.m. is called to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Keeper.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Wireball.
Here.
Trucca.
Here.
Sack. Vote. Here. Schott.
Okay, with us this evening, we have Mr. Mark McKeever, who's the Planning Committee Chairman. We have over here to the right, Landon Hill, who is the Zoning Administrator, and the Law Director is not able to be with us this evening. The public hearing has been called to consider a proposed amendment to the Bucyrus City zoning ordinance per the request of the Bucyrus City Council Planning Committee. Under consideration at this meeting is item 1, amending Bucyrus Codified Ordinance 1157.02, official zoning district map, to redesignate property at 718 Tiffin Street to as follows: from suburban neighborhood residential R2 to neighborhood business NB. Notice for this public hearing was published in the Bucyrus Telegraph Forum on November the 15th, 2019. Today, anyone interested in expressing his or her opinion about the proposed changes may do so by approaching the podium. Each is asked to state his or her name, address, and whether he or she is a proponent or opponent of the proposed changes. 5 minutes will be allotted each guest. Everyone is asked to keep in mind that this public hearing is being held only to share information. No decisions will be made at this time, and all information presented this evening will be considered by the Planning Committee at a later date. All references regarding the zoning laws are from the amended City of Bucyrus zoning ordinance effective April the 19th, 2002. We are here tonight to amend section 1157.02 entitled Official Zoning District Map. Bucyrus City Planning Commission recommended in the letter to council dated October the 2nd, 2019 that was favorable to amending section 1157.02. Were there any communications?
We've got 2 communications. This one is dated December 11. I vote no to having it changed. Thank you. Wanda L. Weaver, 620 Link Drive in Bucyrus. That's one communication. The other one, I don't have a date on this one. To whom it may concern, I reside at 723 Tiffin Street. My name is Hazel Kinzel. I have no problem with rezoning for LOK LLC, Lock LLC. I strongly suggest that a storm sewer separation project be considered for this area, especially with this new project in the works. To my knowledge, this area has always been zoned residential, commercial, and agricultural. I was wondering what had changed. I work second shift and will not be at the meeting. If a copy of this could be given to Mr. Locke, that would be appreciated. I have talked to him and would like to stay forthright with him. Thank you, Hazel Kinzel, and those are the 2 communications that we have.
Okay. Planning Committee reported favorably to Bucyrus City Council on November the 7th, 2019 to the amended proposal. Do you, Landon first here, comments from the zoning administrator?
Sure. As has been mentioned, the area that we're talking about is at the intersection of Tiffin and Hill Street. While the address is 718 Hill Street, the portion being considered for the zoning changes, you can kind of see on that map on the screen there, is the area directly west of the 2 existing medical facilities that exist at the intersection. And Mr. Locke has purchased the property and would like to rezone the area from R2, which is a strictly residential use for the most part, to the neighborhood business district, and extend that all the way west to the Sears Street intersection where Sears goes north off of Hill Street. Again, that is 718 Tiffin, but the majority of the changes you're going to see at this point would be on Hill Street itself. The permitted uses for the neighborhood business district include a number of uses: administrative, professional offices, retail stores, personal services. The proposed use, which Mr. Locke can probably speak better towards than I can, would fall under the medical and medical related activities, or under the human medical or dental clinic uses. So there would both be permitted uses in the neighborhood business district if developed as proposed. In the neighborhood business district, there are provisions in our code that afford some protections to neighboring zoning districts that allow for residences. Those include increased rear yard setbacks, increased side yard setbacks, lighting fixtures. Any of those would have to be arranged and shielded so not to shine on a adjacent residential property. Landscaping is encouraged in those areas. However, if a side or rear yard is located adjacent to a residential zoning district, they do have to have some kind of landscaping or screening in those yards. And then trash and garbage control, they have to be enclosed as to effectively screen, a dumpster or what have you from the area. That's kind of a high level view. If there's any other particular questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Mr. McKeever for the planning committee.
As we discussed during it, we really had no opposition to this, other than as I see right now, one letter. I think it'd be a good fit for Bucyrus to have an area like that.
Okay, thank you. This is where we allow any of the proponents, those that are in favor of this proposal. If you'd like to address council this evening, please step up to the podium. We need your name and your address. Anyone care to address council this evening? None? Anyone who's not in favor of the proposal, if you would like to address council this evening, please step to the podium. Your name and address, please.
Jenny Vermillion, 515 Hill Street. My house is right directly across from the first section west of Dr. Harris's property. I understand and don't want to stand in the way of a business, but my concern is we already have traffic that goes up and down Hill Street and sometimes hits 40, 50 mile an hour. They come off of Tiffin and they just hammer down until they get down to the curve down at Redmond Raceway is what we call it, because it's a raceway. The traffic control speed limit register thing, whatever it is that the police department sets out for people to see how fast they're going, is down by the hospital, serving no purpose whatsoever. I pull out of my driveway, I'm a block, almost 2 blocks away, and it picks up my car doing 20 up to the stop sign down at Tiffin Street. We already have problems with getting in and out of our property and our streets because of the traffic during certain times of the day. Like I said, I don't want to stand in the way of a business. I am all for it. My concern is the traffic. Having my driveway right across the street from another facility is going to cause that a hardship for me. And I have myself and 3 kids and my husband, so there's 5 vehicles trying to get in and out of my place. So, thank you.
Okay, anyone else to address council then this evening? No one? Yes, sir.
My name's Lee Tooman, I'm 785, and my only concern too is
785.
785 Sears, I'm sorry.
Sears?
The dead end.
Okay.
And my only concern too is, I'm not against it, I think it's a good idea, but my street is half lane blacktop, and if they would dump traffic onto my dead end street where we live, I mean, for them to make a right-hand turn, they're taking out my mailbox.
Are you the last stretch right after the actual Hill Street right there?
We're on the dead end of Sears.
We're kind of
There's
to
2
the
houses.
backside of Garden Court there?
North
Yeah.
That's what I was trying
We're
to.
north of
There was
that. We're on the dead end.
Just make sure
There
I
was
was
a
on the right spot.
conversation today that took place in the mayor's office, and the conversation started around the fact that we would not be probably approving anything that would put any more traffic onto that portion of Sears Street unless the street were widened into a full street and curbs and everything else put in, and that would not be at the city's expense. And so the chances of that happening are just about slim and none.
Okay.
The
Other than
other-
that, that's my only concern.
Okay, the other question that was brought up was the one about the, about the drainage and things up there. They, were also talking today up in, the mayor's office about there is a line that comes across and goes onto the properties, that we're talking about here. And, there's nothing clear right now as to what it's servicing or what it's doing. And so that is something that will be looked into to determine what impact it's having on that area, if it's having the impact it's supposed to, or if something will need to be done in that area should you decide to develop it. My understanding is right now there is no plan to develop it, it's just simply to change the zoning. So you know that that is something that would have to be addressed before, okay, just so you understand that that is an issue. Yes?
I think I must have spoke to Mr. Tooman on the phone.
Yeah.
We must have had that conversation. And I did speak with Rob after the fact that we had that initial conversation this morning. Rob's understanding of that would be that we couldn't necessarily limit them from putting in some kind of approach, but what we could do would be through traffic commission to limit the type of traffic that would be allowed to be on that street, both because of its width and because of its composition. If we allowed heavy commercial traffic or anything like that, we would be out there milling and paving it, you know.
Yeah.
So we could put limits on the type of traffic that could go there, but the law director felt that maybe if they were to have some kind of employee entrance off of Sears Street, that we likely wouldn't be able to stand in the way of that legally. However, it would be our recommendation from the city of Bucyrus that they treat those approaches, you know, like the other two on the corner and just have access onto Hill Street and in that way. For the stormwater portion, yeah, Jeff and I polled, we looked at the maps. There are a couple of stormwater lines out there, which is beneficial to anybody who's gonna develop it because they're going to have to submit stormwater management plans for any kind of development that's over 5,000 square feet, and the majority of anything that's gonna go there would likely trigger that. So you wouldn't see any negative impact on the stormwater runoff because it would have to be maintained in some kind of detention pond or whatever the case may be. I think she was speaking to an issue that wasn't particularly related to that, more to the whole stormwater separation thing.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Mr. Hill, in the allotted permitted activities for this zone, does that also include any type of multi-person or multi-family dwellings?
In the neighborhood business district?
Yes, sir.
No, it does not. There is a provision. I'm sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head, but bear with me for a second here. So a conditional use would include residences that are approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Conditional use means that they have to go through the process of a variance, which would notify property
Are
owners.
they
much like
single
you-
family dwelling or multiple?
It just says residences, so it would likely be treated as anything, you know, multifamily would likely be considered by the Board of Zoning Appeals. It doesn't
And
necessarily
at that
need to be
time, if it
approved.
were to be proposed that there is a multi-family structure to be built, we would also again get notification and have the
If you
ability to
received
voice
one for
concern.
this, yes. It would be that same 200-foot notification area. You would receive letters, signs would be posted, much like the ones that are along Hill Street. And it would be posted on my engineering and zoning Facebook page. It would be broadcast the same way as this change was.
Thank you.
And as far as the question about speeding is, I'll be downstairs tomorrow having a discussion with the police
Thank you.
department about that one, okay? Anything else?
I've got a couple questions.
Yes.
My first one I'm gonna ask Landon. I was at a planning commission meeting, maybe a year ago, and I guess let me start with you. You don't have a plan yet for what you wanna do. Do you have an idea in your head, or is there a reason that you're looking to do this, or, and I don't know if that's.
as I addressed last time, I would like to have the professional medical field to support the hospital.
Okay.
And of course, every development will be under the application, approval, all the details, like the width, how far you are doing, it's all totally new ball game, architect go through, professionally done. So most of the problem will be addressed accordingly. when the
Okay,
time
and you don't
comes.
want to purchase the property until you know that you could use it for that use then,
You
right?
already purchased it.
Oh, you've already purchased it, okay. I'm just trying to get caught up here. So then back to you, I was at a planning commission meeting about a year ago where a similar instance was discussed, where somebody wanted to do some hypothetical changes, and it was brought up that, well, we need to see a plan before we change it. Does that fit similarly to this situation, or we're looking at it a little different?
Well, a little differently, I guess what Mr. Locke did in his development plan, for lack of a better word, was basically to show, he showed pictures of the existing medical facilities on the corner, and basically this laid out that was his intention to develop it further in a very similar manner.
Okay.
So did he have a detailed development plan with the buildings laid out and the parking lots laid out? No, they didn't. And I don't know which planning commission you're specifically referencing, but I would guess that they probably just came with not much of anything.
You're correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, was it a true development plan? I don't know, but the planning commission took it as such. And he kind of, took pictures, showed what he wanted, and it basically boils down to the fact that he wants to have a development that is in line with what currently exists in the area.
Okay. And then, question for Jay, traffic concerns that you have, is there any, and this may be a question you have to think about before you're able to answer it, but is there anything that you can think of that the traffic commission could do that would alleviate some of your concerns in that area, such as, adding a four-way stop or, things of that nature? Obviously, we're not going to do that for speed control, but if you're worried about safety and things like that, so I didn't know if there's
Well, with the
anything.
number of children that walk past my house in the morning and in the afternoon, who refuse to use the city-provided sidewalk, somebody's gonna get hurt, and somebody's gonna get hurt bad. I honestly don't know enough about traffic control to answer that question. I believe that maybe a stop sign at Hill and Jump, so that they can't get that momentum going up before they have to slow down. But they come around Tiffin Street, they know they got a clean shot, and they're past my house 40, 50 mile an hour. And that's not exaggeration, because I was talking to my husband, and I said, I think they go about 40 miles an hour, because that's an understatement. It isn't just motorcycles, it isn't just cars, it's a raceway.
We can ask that the traffic commission take a look at that.
That's kind of where I was heading with it.
Okay.
I'm thinking that, there might be a way to appease both sides of this debate, to allow for his development plans and for your safety concerns all to be addressed equally.
Think about out of the question of my position today, a speed bump, something like that, they do not 50 miles per hour go through a speed bump.
Yeah.
They will slow down.
Yeah, they slow down all
Of course, the
right.
commission
In a tree.
does something. It's important that we don't want anything happen to any children.
No, and the little turds refuse to walk on the sidewalk.
The children, they're supposed to do what they do.
And that-
No!
That may be
No,
an
see, I do
issue.
that. They won't listen.
I was gonna say, that may be an issue the police department and the school resource officers could address.
Well, there's also, in the wintertime, okay, I might as well just bring it all out. In the wintertime, the sidewalk is never cleared. So I usually take my snow blower over and I blow as much as I can, at least a path for the children to walk in. I get down to Dr. Harris's office, and his person that he has plowing piles it up on the sidewalk. So you can go from the school up to where the driveway is for Dr. Harris's office, and you can't go any further because it's piled up there and it's piled up at the kidney center as well.
Okay, I've got two people to talk to.
I guess that was gonna be my comment. I think that's the joy of having these kind of meetings where we can discuss things and, know, maybe we didn't know that until right now.
Well, you wouldn't unless you were living there or you got somebody that's complaining all the
Yeah,
time.
and it
I'm
gives
not a
us the
complainer, I
opportunities
just go snow blow it.
Yeah, it gives us the opportunities to try to, you know, make sure that everybody's taken care of fairly.
My name is Sue Tooman, and I live on 785 Sears Street. And while we're openly discussing things in that neck of the woods, thinking of Redmond Way especially, and probably the west end of Hill Street. Talking about the children in school, because we've got the added children that are going to that section, and so many kids are walking that area in the morning, and when it gets dark earlier. There's no lighting on Redmond Way, hardly at all. It's like pitch black. My property goes back, by almost, you can see the school from my property, and it's pitch black. So I don't know if that's a city council issue or a school board issue or what, but I've thought about that so often as I've come from the school activities, and it's like pitch black back there, and it's just dangerous for kids to walk, even though some of them may be walking the street. It's even dangerous to walk on the sidewalk or get around that corner at all, and just dangerous, and just thought I'd bring it up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I need a motion to refer the preceding subject back to the planning committee for further study.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Trucca, second by Mr. Myers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passed. Planning committee meeting will be held on December the 19th, 2019. The meetings start at 6 p.m. It'll be probably first up on the agenda. It'll be the first thing on the agenda, Thursday evening at 6 p.m. We need a motion to excuse Mr. Shaw and Ms. Sack.
So moved.
Who's that? Mr. McKeever, second?
Second.
Mr. Myers? All those in favor of excusing them, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. I need a motion then to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McKeever, second by
Second.
Mr. Myers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passed. We are adjourned at 6:22 p.m. Thank you very much.